The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with me or not. And actually, I got slapped today for using the term illegal Mexican immigrants. A moment of silence for Gary's major faux pas. Thank you. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. Welcome to the show. Well, the Obama administration today announced that it was going to get involved in Mexico's drug war. U.S. agents will try to better interdict the flow of drugs from Mexico into the United States. They'll also try to impede the flow of arms from the United States into Mexico. Agents will be deployed on both sides of the border, and the number of Border Patrol agents will be increased. To do this, the Department of Homeland Security is redirecting resources from other programs, including the enforcement of laws which prohibit employers from hiring illegal aliens. Meanwhile, advocates of drug legislation compare the carnage on both sides of the border to Prohibition and argue that if marijuana were legalized, this madness would stop. The announcement comes on the heels of the guilty pleas entered in federal court in Atlanta by 3 illegal Mexican immigrants who are drug pushers on federal kidnapping charges. They had lured another drug dealer from Rhode Island to Georgia on the pretense of selling him a car. Instead, 8 armed men ambushed him and held him for ransom in an unfurnished basement in order to satisfy a $300,000 drug debt. When federal agents and local cops busted down the door, they found the man chained to a mattress, beaten, emaciated, and hyperventilating. There have been numerous other violent incidents in and around Atlanta, which has become a battleground for the Mexican drug cartels in the United States, as has Phoenix, which has become the hemisphere's kidnapping capital. Yes, you heard me say illegal Mexican immigrant again as I read the intro to the show. Shame on me, shame on me. Look, I have nothing against Mexican immigrants. I married a woman who was a Mexican American. Her parents were Mexican immigrants. I love them dearly, but they came into this nation legally, as did my forefathers and foremothers. I am not against immigration, but I would like for people to come in here legally, and I certainly don't want those crossing the border to be bringing their BS from Mexico here, causing all kinds of havoc in Atlanta and Phoenix and Arizona and elsewhere in Arizona and Texas and New Mexico and California. You know, when I travel as an American elsewhere around the world, I try to act appropriately in those countries and try not to act in an illegal manner when I am there. I enter those countries legally, not illegally, and I adhere to the laws of those countries. I respect those countries. I am a visitor in those countries. I don't conduct bad business in those countries. And that's not the case with the people involved in the drug cartels who are coming to the United States and fighting their drug wars here. Now, there are a couple of issues here. Is this enough? And are we handling this the right way? I'll tell you my solution. I may have mentioned it on the show before. I've talked to a couple of friends about it, and they say it's brilliant. All those Iraq and Afghan war veterans who are coming over here and can't get jobs, coming back home, hey, why don't we train them as border guards and put them on the border, put them back in uniform? They already know how to be uniformed personnel. They already understand the chain of command. They already know how to interdict when people are doing illegal actions. That's what they were doing, peacekeepers in Iraq and in Afghanistan. Solves a couple of problems, doesn't it? Solves the problems of not having jobs waiting for them when they come back to the United States, and solves the problem of the illegal activity on the borders of the United States. You know, I'll say one more thing before I turn the calls over to you, my dear audience, because you are the guests on this show today, and that is, I don't understand why other nations can secure their borders and not be accused of some kind of phobia, but when the United States seals its borders, then there are all kinds of accusations of racism. I mean, are you aware, perchance, of, for example, the very stringent immigration rules in Switzerland? Lovely country, love to live there. Don't know that I could. And by the way, if I wanted to go to Canada and live and work there, I would have to prove that I'm not taking a job of a Canadian when I went there. In fact, they don't even allow in Canada an American to take a job unless they've already offered it to Canadians first, and there were no takers. Hey, it's even to the point where the Canadian radio stations aren't supposed to play American songs. They have to play X percentage of Canadian songs. Oh my goodness. Isn't that horrible? What about China? Do you get to go in China? What about North Korea? Do you get to go into North Korea? Every country limits the number of immigrants that it allows and doesn't face the kind of accusations that are thrown at the United States and to people in the United States who want to secure their borders. I want Mexico to have secure borders. I want Canada to have secure borders. I want the United States to have secure borders. I don't think that's asking too much. And if you're calling from another country, guess what? I want your country to have secure borders. And I want you to decide collectively in your nation who you're going to allow in, how many people you're going to allow in, how many you're going to allow in on visitor visas, how many you're going to allow in on business visas, how many you're going to allow in on student visas, and how many you're going to allow in on visas that will allow people to reside in your nation. Every country sets quotas. Every single country. And I will not apologize for wanting to set limits here in the United States, especially now that the drug dealers are coming over here from Mexico and we're having kidnappings and killings here in the United States of America. So what do you think of this plan? Is it too little, too late? And what do you think about the idea that officers who might otherwise have been checking to make sure that businesses were hiring people who are in the country legally will now be diverted from that for this interdiction